that often feel like I'm murdering my precious darlings. In fact, murdering your darlings is a phrase writers pass down to each other to describe the editing process. But after 3 decades of working with some amazing editors, I'm a believer. Good writing is rewriting. So I wasn't at all intimidated when the contract of my first book contained a line that said, if the editors and I did not agree on global edits, which is big changes, the publication would not go forward. I thought, no big deal. I knew that I had taken this story as far as I could take it. My long-term editor had taken it as far as she could take it. I was ready for this next set of hands. And when they sent me the global edits, there was only 5 of them. The first one was they wanted me to slim the manuscript down to 100,000 words in 4 weeks. No problem. I love deadlines, and I love hitting word counts. The second change was they wanted to replace the title. I'm not going to lie, this one stung a little bit, but I have a thick skin, I'm adaptable, I'm a pro, no problem. Take the title. The third and fourth one was actually doing me a favor. They wanted me to remove a 2-page prologue, which saved me words, and get rid of the points of view of 2 characters that were minor, so I lost chapter 4, again, saving words. The 5th change, however, was a deal breaker. You see, my story was set in Michigan, but it opened on the morning of 9/11, where one of my main characters was flying into Detroit Metro Area. And although my characters weren't involved in the events of 9/11, the atmosphere of the nation at that time ran like a spine right down the back of the narrative. I researched it for years, and I felt it was just right. Well, my new editors disagreed with me. They felt 9/11 was too heavy and was crushing the plot. So they wanted me to replace it with, and I quote, some other terrorist event. Now, I am not Tom Clancy. I have never invented a terrorist plot. I haven't even ever written a murder mystery. And I highly doubt I could do so convincingly in 4 weeks with 20,000 less words. So I took this to my long-term editor, showed them what they wanted, and proceeded to lose my mind. She told me to calm down. She's very good at telling me to calm down. She said, this isn't a deal breaker, this is a negotiation. You tell them that you accept 4 of their changes, and then make the case for keeping 9/11. All right, I can do that. So I went home and wrote a very concise email. I told them that the plot of my book was about 2 control freaks who lose control of their situation. And 9/11 was the perfect overarching metaphor for the personal terrorism going on in these characters' lives. And it even pulled the reader subconsciously onto the same page with the characters. It was brilliant and quite possibly irreplaceable. And any attempt to do so in 4 weeks would take the manuscript to a rough draft condition instead of a final draft condition, which would serve no one. Respectfully yours, my name. They didn't buy it. They sent me back a one-line email that said, we suggest you try not to think about it so much. Well, that ship had sailed. Not only was I thinking about it, it was consuming all my difficult thoughts. I mean, did they realize what they had done to me? I either make this change, destroy my book, but keep my book deal, or reject this change, preserve my book, and destroy my book deal. Either way, I'm not happy. So like most writers, I procrastinated on making a decision and proceeded to feel sorry for myself. About 3 days into my pity party, my oldest daughter asked if I would take a walk with her. While we were walking the neighborhood, she was talking about high school and music she was working on. And the whole time I was thinking, destroy my book, 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 or destroy my book deal. And then she stopped and said, Mom, what's wrong with you? Now, I hadn't shared this with my daughter for 2 reasons. 1, I didn't think she'd understand it. And 2, if I told this story to my child, I was going to have to be a grown-up about it, and I just wasn't. So I gave her a short answer that I thought would involve a lot of follow-up. I said, the publishers and I disagree on a change they want to make to the manuscript. Looks like the book's not going to get published after all, and I feel sad. And she said, I know exactly how you feel. I was like, you do? She was like, oh yeah. She's like, sometimes I have to take a piece of music and put it in a different key, and I don't think it's going to work out. So I just start with the first measure. I transpose the first measure, and I listen to it, and I know if it'll work for the rest of the song. So did you try that, Mom? Did you try just changing it in the first scene? No. So I went home and tried it with the first scene. It was only 2 pages long. Half hour in, I had made the changes. So I kept going. By the end of the night, I had changed chapter 1. By the end of the week, I had changed the first 3 chapters. It was easy. The more I committed to this change, the easier it was to see what didn't belong in the manuscript, and the easier it was to make the tiny changes the script needed to go forward. With every change I made, the plot tightened up, the motives of the characters deepened. By the time I got to the 5th chapter, one I would have to completely rewrite under these new rules, I was not only willing to do it, I was happy to do it. I wanted to take these characters on this slightly transposed story arc from point A to point B. At the end of the 4 weeks, I had turned in my final manuscript at 100,000 words with some other terrorist event running like a spine on the back of the narrative. But one thing had to change. I hated these people, what they made me do with my life. And I loved